Salama dudes, Saiyan Salamander here, and welcome to the next installment of Outrealm Heroes. If you watched my top hopes for Zelda's 35th anniversary wishlist last week, or you just read the title of the video, then you know that this time I'm going to be talking about the characters from the Legend of Zelda series. For those of you that haven't watched this series before, each episode I talk about characters from different series, and how I think they'd work if they got added into my favourite mobile game, Fire Emblem Heroes. So now that the introductions are out of the way, how about I move on to talking about what characters will appear on the banner, starting off with the first unit to appear on this banner, the hero of the wild, Link. So the interesting thing about this series is that there's a lot of these characters have many different iterations. So if I really wanted to, I could actually just make a banner full of multiple variations of the same character, and I could still probably turn them all into completely different and unique heroes. Don't worry though, I'm not going to pull a Smash Bros on you guys and fill up the banner with multiple incarnations of Link. Though maybe I'll talk about some other variations of him another time. But for now, I'm just going to talk about the Link featured in Breath of the Wild. I didn't quite know what to do for Link's stats originally, but he's a very well-rounded and versatile hero, so I decided to distribute his stats evenly, giving him 34 across the board. I had some extra stat points though, so I decided to put them in HP, since his HP stat is considerably low for a sword infantry unit. Of course I gave Link the Master Sword, which is kinda funny that someone from Faye already beat him to it, since Reinhardt's sword actually translates to Master Sword from German, so IS might need to slightly change the weapon name because of this, or at least when playing the game in German anyway. Link's HP could still be improved a tad because of how I distributed his stats, and because you need a certain amount of heart containers to obtain the sword in Breath of the Wild, if I've heard correctly, I decided to make the weapon give Link an extra 5 HP. I also accelerated his special cooldown, and made him effective against beast units in order to defeat Ganon. Finally, I made his weapon similar to Shinnon's, but instead of having a close counter and essentially a Spectrum solo skill, Link gets a conditional distant counter and a Spectrum push skill. I almost gave Link 2 exclusive skills, as I thought it'd be a little too much, so instead I gave him one from Smash Bros, Triforce Slash. It doubles to uses damage like Deadeye, but it also heals Link for 15% of the damage that he just dealt, so it synergizes great with his weapon. For the rest of his skills, I decided to give him Darting Breath free, Mystic Boost free, and Time Spells free. I figured Darting Breath would help make Link a bit more likely to double, or at least more likely to prevent a double from the enemy. Mystic Boost since it synergizes well with his weapon, and finally Time Spells since I thought it suited this incarnation of Link well. I forgot to mention this earlier, but I also gave Link a Super Boon and a Super Bane in every stat, meaning that he now beats Shamir for the most boons and sets the record for the most amount of Banes too. This means that Link can easily get a nice boost to any of his stats, which works really well considering how well rounded he is. But you have to be careful about what Bane Link gets, and he'd definitely appreciate a merge in order to get rid of whatever Bane he ends up getting. Link probably took the longest to make out of all the heroes on this list, but I think he ended up turning into a pretty balanced, great well-rounded hero. He doesn't shine in a particular area, but he definitely has pretty solid stats all across the board. The second character on this list is actually the 4-star demote unit of this banner, and it's none other than the Sheikah chieftain herself, Impa. Impa has gone through many different designs over the years. She's been old, young, Naruto, she's gone through a lot of appearances over the years. But the appearance I settled on giving her for Fire Emblem Heroes is based on her original Hyrule Warriors appearance. As much as I love Age of Calamity Impa, I think Hyrule Warriors design suited her best. In fact, they really nailed a lot of the character redesigns in that game. And since I based her on this design, her weapon is going to be the Sheikah Naginata. With her Naginata, Impa is a Lance Infantry unit, and it grants her attack speed 2, it's effective against beast damage, and I even gave her an attack-based repel, so she can guard the princess from her enemies by using her highest stat. For the rest of her skills, Impa is Bonfire since her defense is alright, but it's mainly because her Naginata is a flame-based weapon in Hyrule Warriors. Guard free to reference her being Zelda's protector, and finally Lance Valor free. It's a really old but fairly useful skill, and I don't know why they just don't demote all these Valor and XP skills down to the 4-star and 3-star pool, instead of just locking them behind 5-star units for all these years. So I figured it was finally time to drop this skill down a tier. Plus, it suited her as the captain of Hyrule's guard, having Lance Valor would help her better train up any new units who join Zelda's guard. Impa has insane attack, really good speed, and decent defense, resistance, and HP too. She has a Super Boon in attack, defense, and speed, but she's also got a Super Bane in resistance. Overall, she's a great unit, and a very welcome addition to the 4-star summoning pool. The third character that's getting featured in this banner is another one of those Zelda characters who have gone through an insane amount of incarnations and design changes over the years. And that character is the King of Evil, Ganondorf. Like other characters on this list, Ganondorf's gone through many different appearances throughout the years, and there's a ton of different options for him. He has the potential to become any of the main unit types, and there's a bunch of weapons you could use too. My favourite variation of Ganondorf is his Hyrule Warriors appearance with his dual swords, But since I wanted to make him a green unit, so there'd be a unit of each colour, I decided to base him on his Twilight Princess design instead, and make him an armoured green beast unit. His weapon is called Ganon's Fury, and it grants +3 attack to the user. I also made him effective against infantry and armoured units, since that's how I imagined the skill Trample would work in Fae. And it suits Ganondorf really well after playing as Beast Ganon in Hyrule Warriors. It also guarantees Ganondorf a follow-up attack while denying the foe a follow-up attack, as long as he's not adjacent to any other unit, meaning he's a great candidate for Special Fighter. He also of course has the Armoured Beast effect, allowing him to counter-attack regardless of range if he's transformed. For the rest of his skills, I decided to give him Vengeance, Defense Resistance Solo 4, Special Fighter 3, and finally Armoured Stride 3. As an armoured unit, his stats are insane overall, with his only weakness being speed. Not that it matters as long as he's alone. I wanted to reference the Triforce of Power in some way, so I figured it'd be a good idea to give him a super boon in attack to raise his attack even further. In fact, he's died with I'm not even going to pronounce his name, Deginsi, something like that, and Brave Edelgard for the highest attack in the game. Of course, I can't make a Legend of Zelda banner without the character the series is named after, right? Which is why the final character is the Princess of Hyrule, Zelda. Just like Link, I chose to base her on her Breath of the Wild appearance, making her a colourless infantry mage in Fae. In Age of Calamity, she is shown wielding the Sheikah Slate, so I thought it'd be a good idea to give it as a weapon for her. It grants Zelda +3 resistance and accelerates her special cooldown -1. It also has a built-in chill speed 3 as well as a melancholy effect too, which makes her great at debuffing any foe that comes her way. For the rest of her skills, I decided to give her Sorcery Blade 3, Special Spiral 3 and Joint Drive Speed. I also gave her a brand new inheritable skill, being the Stasis Rune. It's a 3-turn special that's exclusive to mages. It's quite similar to Deadeye, where it's a 3-turn special that's exclusive to a specific unit type. It doubles the unit's damage and has the additional effect besides that. For the Stasis Rune, it inflicts gravity on the foe and enemies within 2 spaces after combat, making it a pretty good utility skill. Stat-wise, Zelda's got really good speed and res, fairly decent HP, but kind of low attack and pretty bad defense too. Though she does have a super boon in HP and resistance in order to reference the Triforce of Wisdom. Overall, Zelda might need some work in her attack, but I think she's a great unit. Who's quite similar to staff units in some ways due to her melancholy and gravity skills, which are typically skills used by that unit class. Though she doesn't have the same healing utility as staff units, she has access to a lot of skills staff units don't have. Plus she has the same advantage of being colourless like staff units too, meaning that anyone without a Raven effect better watch out. Now that I've finished talking about the Zelda banner units, let's move on to the Tempest Trial events to go alongside of it. This time I'm calling it Trials of Sheikah. I'll get to talking about the free unit in a second, but first let's talk about the S-Seal rewards. I wanted to reference ninjas with the S-Skills this time around, so I thought 2 of the perfect skills to do that would be to give out Water Sweep as the 10k reward and Sabotage Speed as the 20k reward. The reason I wanted to reference ninjas in the S-Seal is because of a free unit who's none other than the elusive Sheikah, Sheik. I figured she'd suit being a dagger unit, but Hyrule Warriors gave me another idea. Instead, she's a colourless mage dancer, the first of her kind at the making of this video. I gave her the Goddess Harp as a weapon, just like she uses in Hyrule Warriors. So, like Nils, she has the skill play instead of sing and dance. For the rest of Sheik's skills, I gave her Firestorm Dance at 4-star and Speed Smoke 3 at 5-star. Firestorm Dance is a skill a little bit difficult to come by, as at 4-star rarity it's available by Wedding Raphael, so now it's a bit more accessible in the Grail shop. Her best stats are attack and speed, though she's got decent HP and res, but low defense. She's also got super boon in speed and resistance. Moving back to the weapon, I just realised I forgot to talk about its effects. It grants +3 speed to the user, but it also has the effect that if Sheik uses play on an ally, it grants Sheik an additional action as well. However, she can't dance on her second action, and she's restricted to 1 movement space afterwards as well. It's a really good skill, especially on a free unit like Sheik, and it's something I've been really hoping to see on a dancer like Olivia or someone, but I think Sheik would be an amazing unit with it too. She can dance an ally and then attack herself right after, though positioning is key with her being restricted to 1 movement space. I don't think I've got anything else to say about the banner, so that's all for this episode of Outrealm Heroes, my dudes. I always love bringing characters from other series into Fae, so I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, and maybe check out the other content I do here on YouTube or on my Twitch channel, which will be linked in the description down below. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one, my dudes. Bye!